guys, you're at the end. This is it. Like, we're wrapping it up. So be pumped. We're going to talk a little bit about brainstorming for your final product. Yeah, that's right. Your last project for English class. What? I don't even know what's happening right now. I'm so pumped for you. You're going to be graduates. I can't wait. I've been in my house too long and I just ate like 2 brownies and I'm super hyped on sugar. So apologies. So let's talk a little bit about topic creation. You are going to be coming up with your paper proposal for me. I'm going to give you through the weekend. So I'm going to want this on Monday. I kind of gave you guys a lot this week, and so I don't want to make it due Friday. I would love to have it in on Friday, but if you need the weekend to brainstorm, totally get it. So I'm going to push the due date until the 18th, but know that your final product is going to be due on the 22nd. So that's all you're going to work on next week. I will have nothing else for you, but just have a heads up that you are going to have your big project due on the 22nd. So coming up with your topic for your actual paper is probably the most difficult part of writing. And when you go to college, at least in my college classes that I had in psychology and in English, I wasn't necessarily told what to write about in all of my papers. I was told a general topic like, hey, we're reading As I Lay Dying and we're doing lectures on Faulkner in the class, but I'm not going to tell you what to write about. You propose a topic and I'll say yes or no. And so writing a 6 to 10 page paper can be difficult, but it's so much easier when you have a topic that's fully developed and has lots of like information and good pieces of like juicy bits in it is what I want to say, but that sounds gross. So anyway, you want to think it through in some. So a 5-paragraph essay is not going to get you to the page limit. We need to plan an essay that will have 5+ body paragraphs that doesn't even include an intro or a conclusion. But wait, what you need to know is that you are not actually writing a 6 to 10 page paper for me for this assignment this year. Instead, we're going to modify it a little bit just because we don't have time to do the drafting and to really make sure that you write the full paper. And I want to make sure that you at least get the practice of doing a paper proposal. So we are going to submit a paper proposal. You're going to create an outline for your paper like you would be writing it, and you're going to create a screencast presentation for your final product. So they're going to be similar to my lectures. I would love it if it was better than mine because I don't really know what I'm doing here. I'm like using QuickTime and uploading to YouTube. So you guys are much smarter than me. So I don't know. I hope that gives you a little bit of relief. You guys have done a very awesome job at engaging this year and in this unit. So I wanted to make sure I hold you to the standard of doing something good and real, but also giving you a little bit of relief. So let's talk about coming up with a proposal and coming up with an idea to focus your presentation. So I'm going to model topic creation. I'm going to model it with Gatsby. I think most of us have read it at this point. And so I'm going to use this as an example and imagine going through this with As I Lay Dying as well. So the first thing I want to do is I want to start with a general idea. You should be able to say it in like a sentence or two. You want to keep it simple. You want to keep it on a topic that you're interested in exploring and or a character. So in this situation, I'm thinking about how I want to write about a topic. So, the Marxist lens is really interesting to me. It's also the feminist lens is also really interesting to me. So I want to write about how using a different lens can shine a critique on current culture. I'm really interested in how lenses can act as critics. So then, once I know kind of generally what I want to talk about, I want to make it specific to the text that I'm using. So I'm going to get more detailed. I'm going to say that I want to focus on how a Marxist lens can illuminate a critique on the American dream's capacity to co-modify select categories of human beings. So essentially, I want to look at how the American dream makes people into a commodity, into a thing, rather than fully realized human beings that they are. And I know that the Marxist lens is a lens that really looks at the commodification of human beings. So I'm going to focus on that specifically. And I'm going to listen to like maybe my teacher's super interesting lecture that she gave on like Marxism and the American dream and Gatsby and get some really good ideas for what I want to focus on. Okay, so then I have my focus. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to brainstorm a few overall critiques that a Marxist lens can illuminate within the text. So these are almost going to be like my subtopics, my 3 big examples of a Marxist lens critiquing the American dream in The Great Gatsby. So I'm going to look at 3 things. I'm going to look at the average working man and how the average working man or the proletariat is being represented within The Great Gatsby. I'm going to look at the role of women and how women are being represented in The Great Gatsby. And then I'm going to look at the morality of privilege being connected to money, that we have access to things only when we have money, and how that devalues human beings, okay? So I've got my 3 subtopics, and this is great. These are like my 3 big sections of the paper. Once I have these 3 things, I want to break them down into 2 to 3 examples of something from the text. So I'm brainstorming parts of the book that are related to each of these sections, and specifically how it turns humanity into capital. So when I'm looking at the average working man or considering the proletariat, I'm going to think of George Wilson, who's the opposite of Gatsby, how he's only valued for what he can provide, not for his actual humanity. He can provide wealthy people with cars, or fixing them at least. He can provide wealthy people with his wife. He can provide wealthy people a means to murder Gatsby, but he himself is not valued just for being George. Maybe I want to look at the Valley of Ashes, representing the idea that workers are dispensable and worthless, that they're waste products of a booming industry time. Maybe I want to look at all other characters in the book that aren't wealthy outside of Nick. They're faceless and nameless. They're only called chauffeurs and butlers, and they're denied any sense of humanity. Outside of course, the Wilsons, but okay, whatever, going on. Then I'm going to look at the role of women. I'm going to look at Jordan and how she's valued for her athletic ability, but she experiences this hampered reputation because of rumors regarding her cheating. But she's wealthy, so she's kind of allowed into upper society, but she really holds no value outside of the lens of men and how rich men see her. Daisy sees the role of being a woman as being a beautiful fool. She dehumanizes her full potential so she can seek after riches rather than a fulfilled life. And then we see Myrtle and her affair and her attempt to obtain the American dream. It leads to her death. She's not valued for her own being outside of George's appreciation of her. And I think maybe George did fully appreciate her, but he wasn't really necessarily seeking the American dream. He was a proletariat. So something to say there. And then I want to delve into the morality of privilege being connected to money. I'm going to look at Gatsby's access to his wealth being through really unsavory means. And we see things like bootlegging and gambling. We know these activities value some human life over other human life more, and takes advantage of those who are alcoholics or who are gamblers and can't control themselves. There's an issue in morality where your wealth is coming through unsavory means. And this really shines light on the desperation of the American dream. We also can see how this level of wealth that Gatsby has allows him to be above the law or superhuman. It allows him to commodify Daisy as a possession that he has to have, rather than a fully realized human with her own motivations, where he can no longer just value her from afar because he loves her, but rather he must have her, he must possess her, and all he needs to do that is to have enough money. He has privilege because he has money. So all of a sudden, what I have here is I've got all of my paragraphs in my paper. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 paragraphs that I could, and maybe a couple of these would be connected, but all of a sudden I've got my 3 sections in my paper outside of my introduction and my conclusion, and I've got 2 to 3 paragraphs happening in all of these because I'm going to expand on this. So just so you guys know, for your presentation, I would expect to have like 1 slide and then maybe like 2 kind of delving into these if you do slides or whatever. Does that make sense? I hope so. I kind of don't know what to expect either, so we're going to create this together. Finally, once I do all of that, I can come up with an overall interpretation about what this represents in the book. So I could say something like, using a Marxist lens to examine the text of The Great Gatsby reveals the shady underbelly of the American dream, where selected groups of humanity, like the common workers and women, are limited in their ability to be self-actualized. Please don't judge me for not having commas in there. Instead of valuing all people for their inherent humanity, the American dream tends to inhibit growth for all. Okay, I can't. I gotta fix it. You're gonna watch the editing right now. English teachers make lots of mistakes too, especially Missy. I told you it's a weird day, you guys. Okay. So, boom, look at that. I got a thesis. So, I've now worked my way from a topic that I was just generally interested in. Oh, too far. Right here. I just generally like the idea how lenses can shine a critique on current culture. And I've gotten all the way to, boom, Marxist lens illuminates how the American dream commodifies the common worker and women. Thesis. I'm basically a genius. So, what I'm going to have you guys do is you are going to be working on making a complex and thoughtful idea about the novel to hypothetically write about, or at least to present about next week. You are going to come up with material for many more than 3 body paragraphs. You're going to come up with specific parts of the book that you can reread and collect evidence from. Maybe you want to come up with like some ideas you could research further. And at the end of all of this, you're going to have a paper that will definitely sustain a 6 to 10 page essay. You're not writing the essay, but you could if you needed to. And that's what's important. So your job this weekend, or at least by Friday, or over the weekend, whatever you're going to do, you will have time to come up with what you are going to write your paper about. I would like you to use a similar process. You can use Post-it notes to brainstorm. Don't use the checkpoint document. You can. You're going to be submitting this in Schoology. We're going to move away from using Summit just because it's formatted for you to write the paper, not for you to do these activities. And you're going to submit this on Schoology. On the assignment, I've included some frames to help you. You are welcome to just delete them all if you would like. And then you're going to be working on your presentation all of next week. It's going to be due Friday, the 22nd. And then you will be done with English for all of high school. So how about that? That's pretty great. I'm really excited to see what you come up with. Here are my steps really quick, just all in one document. Number 1, come up with your general topic. Should be simple. Don't overthink it. Just go with your gut. Number 2, get more specific. What about this topic do you want to focus on? Number 3, brainstorm ideas about how this topic shows up in the book. This should be specific to your topic, and you need to come up with 2 to 4. I came up with 3 in my example. Step 4, for each of the things you brainstormed in step 3, identify specific parts in the book that are related to them. This should be 2 to 4 different specific parts. If you can't come up with 2 to 4, it's not a good subtopic, okay? Step 5, come up with a more general idea or statement about what you think the meaning or purpose of all of this is. So this is going to be like your thesis. And then complete the paper proposal assignment in which you summarize your ideas for the paper. So you ask, Missy, this is awesome. I get it, but I'm kind of stuck. Where should I go? Well, let me tell you, I got some resources for you. So number one, you're always welcome to rewatch this amazing presentation where I ate way too many brownies before I made it. And you can rewatch how I did my own topic creation. Additionally, I gave you a key elements overview. So here are some novel-based ideas. We discussed some of these things in our class discussions, and we also discussed some of these things that we talked about in our lectures. Any of these things, do they stick out to you? Are they interesting? Do you want to think about them more? Additionally, I also gave you this extension resource bank. This is all in our folder for the week. It's got a lot of different information on some of the things that we talked about in our lectures, talks a little bit more about all of this info. So lots of good stuff in here. Also, look over your notes. Look over our lectures. Look over our class discussions. And if you're really struggling, message me. Don't message me over the weekend because I won't respond. But Monday through Friday, I'm pretty fast on that response time. So I will get back to you as soon as possible, okay? You guys are so close. I'm so proud of the work that you've done. I'm going to cry when I don't get to see you anymore. But you guys are great, and I miss you all, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.